Hey everybody, Mr. Macintosh here, and macOS Monterey Beta has been out for exactly 1 week, and OpenCore Legacy Patcher has announced macOS Monterey support for unsupported Macs. There's been a lot of changes in this brand new operating system that you need to know about. I'm going to talk about all the changes in requirements to Wi-Fi, graphics, Bluetooth, and we're going to go through an entire install from start to finish. We've got a lot to cover. Let's jump in and get started. There's been a lot of changes to macOS Monterey Beta since the release of macOS Big Sur. A lot of support has changed. The drivers for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and different things has also changed and has been dropped. Support had to be re-added back in, so it was a lot of work. So if you have a macOS Big Sur unsupported Mac and you're running OpenCore Legacy Patcher right now, by all means stay on there because it's running very well with the new accelerated graphics support. But I know you want to give macOS Monterey a shot, so that's why I wanted to go over how we can install macOS Monterey with OpenCore Legacy Patcher on your unsupported Mac, especially since Apple dropped support for 2013 and 2014 models. Dina K put this really nice support document together for macOS Monterey to talk about all those different items that we need to discuss. I also put together a document that I wanted to go over that talks about all these things in detail. So first of all, let's talk about this. Again, macOS Monterey is in beta form, the very first beta. So again, be patient with the patcher and the operating system. It's in full development mode. Number two, don't upgrade your Mac to macOS Monterey Beta if you depend on it and it's your sole computer for work or school. Again, it's a beta. Things could go wrong and you don't want to be in a bad position. Number three, if you do want to upgrade, make sure you back up all your data. I even recommend this with supported Macs. Always back up your data just in case of disaster. Now, let's talk about macOS compatibility. The support is going to be changing on an almost weekly basis, okay? New things are going to be found that might not work, or new things that will be fixed and will be added to the patcher. Use these pages or the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and the Discord and the Mac Rumors thread to stay on top of the latest information. I will try to keep you updated as much as I can in the description of this video, but again, there's going to be a lot of changes from now until production. Let's talk about full support. If you have one of these models in this list, you can basically upgrade or do a fresh install with no issues whatsoever with OpenCore Legacy Patcher. If you have one of these older models like an iMac mid 2011, Mac Mini late 2012, MacBook Air 2012, or a MacBook Pro early 2013, you're going to need to install post-volume patches. And this is for the HD Intel graphics that actually Apple removed from Monterey. There's no support in there at all for that Intel drivers. So you're going to have to do this. Now, there's also a couple bugs that we need to talk about with this setup. And what I mean by that is that if you upgrade and you forget to disable automatic login, you'll have a window crash and you won't be able to log in the system and you're going to be in a pickle. And I'm going to go over that because the model that I'm going to be using is a 2013, so I'm going to walk you through that process. And again, this is as of June 14th, 2021. Now that we have the compatibility and the requirements out of the way, we can jump right into the actual demo. I picked this particular hardware model because it is going to go through the entire Monterey update process, and we will have to install the post-volume patches after. So you can see this is an early 2013 MacBook Pro, and it is running macOS Big Sur. So the first thing we're going to need to do is download the full macOS Monterey Beta installer and the OpenCore Legacy application. And again, all these links will be in the description here. This is the OpenCore Legacy GitHub page. It has all the latest releases and the information right down here. The releases area is the exact place where you want to go because again, it's a little busy when you first come in here, but this is what you want to do. The latest release will be right here, and it could be on 1.8 or 9 by the time you watch this video, but as of today, it's 0.1.7. So click on the latest version right here. It'll bring you and it'll talk about the patch notes and the improvements to this latest version. So scroll down and you need to download the OpenCore Patcher app.zip. It's going to put it right into your documents folder, and once it's done, it will unpack that zip, open up your Macintosh hard drive or Finder, go into Applications, and you're going to drag the OpenCore Patcher right to your Applications folder. And there it is. Once that's done, we have to download the macOS Monterey Beta. Now I have a site that I keep track of all of the macOS Monterey Big Sur and Monterey full installers. So scroll down once we get to the page and you're going to look for the InstallAssistant.pkg. By the time you see this video, there might be multiple versions of the beta, but you will want to download the latest version with the latest date. And you'll see if it's available or not, because Apple will pull the previous versions. So all you need to do is click on this guy and it'll download the entire package, which is usually 12 gigabytes or larger, into your downloads folder. Click the downloads down here and you can click on the InstallAssistant.pkg and it's going to install the macOS Monterey Beta application to your applications folder here. So we'll click continue, install, and I'm going to open up the applications folder so you can see it get installed right to the applications folder. So we'll type in our password here. And there it is, install macOS 12 Beta. Now the next thing we want to do is create the USB installer, because we're going to boot to it and then we're going to upgrade macOS Monterey and then we'll be back into the operating system. So you'll want to plug in your USB flash drive or your USB hard drive right now and it'll mount right on the desktop. And there it is. So now we can open up Disk Utility and format it. This is going to be your internal drive right here, and this will be your USB flash drive will show under external. So all you need to do is click on it and click erase. Again, make sure that there's no data on here before you do, just in case you had some files stored on this drive before you erase. Click on erase. Now keep in mind, if this says MS-DOS or APFS, it has to be macOS Extended Journal for you to be able to create a bootable installer. Erase. And now we're done. We'll click done and we'll close the time machine prompt and we'll get rid of Disk Utility here. Now the next thing we're going to do is create that installer through the terminal app, which is in Applications, Utilities, or you can just do Command Space Terminal. And I've already got it opened up, ready to go here. Now the easiest thing to do is to drag the entire app right into the terminal window, but we need to run the command as an administrator. We'll do sudo space, we'll go back to the applications folder, and before I would just drag it in there and autocomplete the entire command, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to right click or control click on the actual application, show package contents, go into contents, go into resources, and click on create install media and drag that over. That's the entire command that you'll need. Now that we've got a space here, do -- volume space, and then you can drag your USB hard drive or a flash drive right to the window. That's it. Hit enter. It's going to ask you for your password. Type that in. It's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to erase the drive? Well, we already did, so click yes or Y and click enter. And it's going to erase the disk and then copy the files and make it bootable to the external drive. Now, while we're doing this, you can open up Activity Monitor, Command Space, Activity Monitor, and we can monitor the actual disk copy speed by clicking the disk tab up here and moving this over here, and we can actually watch the activity of what it's going to do. It's going to start out around 20 megabytes of data write speed, and then it's going to speed up a little bit. As you can see, the progress bars start to go from 0 to 10 to 20 all the way to 100%. So we'll take a pause here and we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see here, we got to 100%. We're just about done. We were transferring around 60 megabytes a second. It is now finishing up and making the disk bootable. The install media is now available of volumes install macOS 12 Beta. So now that that part is done, we have to patch this USB to be able to boot to macOS Monterey. And to do that, we need to just go back to our applications folder and start up OpenCore Legacy Patcher. And when you get this message, click on open. Okay, so the first thing that you'll see here is that you need to be on at least 0.1.7 for macOS Monterey support. It'll also tell you that the model that you have, this model is supported. It will tell you if your model is not supported right here if you get started and you're creating the USB installer. Now keep in mind, you want to create the USB installer on the device that you're going to do the patching on. If you don't, you have to go in here on number 4 and change the model. model. So if you want to make it on your 2020 MacBook Pro and then bring it over to your 2013, just change the model to a 10,1 or a 13, whatever, and then that'll give the support for that particular model, whatever your model is. So since we're building it on here, we don't have to do any of that. So all we need to do is build OpenCore. Now you can take a look at the patcher settings by clicking on 5 here, and you can see all the different settings that are in the new 0.17 version that were not in the previous version for Big Sur. But we don't need to change any of these settings right now, so we'll hit Q to quit. Now that we're back at the beginning, we have to build the OpenCore and put it to a temporary directory, so when we install it to our USB flash drive for booting, it's going to grab those files from there and move them to the USB for the EFI boot. So we're going to click number 1 to build OpenCore and hit enter, and then it's already built. And you can see right here the location of where those files go in private var folders. Hit enter to go back. Now we're ready to install those files to the USB flash drive. We're going to click number 2 and hit enter. It's going to analyze the disks and it's going to say which drive do you want to install the EFI boot files to. So right now we're doing the USB, so we're going to click disk number 2, the 120 gigabyte external hard drive. And then we're going to click number 1 for the EFI partition and then hit enter. We're going to have to enter our administrator password. As you can see here, it copied the OpenCore to the EFI partition, and don't worry about this unmounting error. Just hit enter and we're done. We can hit Q to quit, and we have OpenCore installed to the EFI partition. You can actually click this since it didn't unmount it. These are the files right here, OpenCore, that we're going to use to be able to boot to the installer. So now that we have that, we have our USB drive all built out. Now, one last important thing before we reboot to the installer. Remember what I said about if you have the Intel HD4000 graphics chip, like I mentioned here in the notes at the bottom here, you have to turn on automatic login before we perform the upgrade, because there's a Windows Server crash that happens if auto login is not enabled until you install the volume patches after. After you install the volume patches, you can turn off automatic login here. So let's show you how to do that. So we'll go into users and groups, and then we need to unlock, type in our password here. And then we're going to go into login options, and we're going to turn automatic login for test. And we're going to type in the password, and we'll hit OK. And now automatic login is enabled. So if I reboot this system right now, it's going to go directly to the desktop, and that's exactly what we want to do so we can install those volume patches after the upgrade is complete. Okay, we're ready to reboot. We'll go Apple to restart, and we're going to hold down the option key so we can get to the boot picker menu. We're going to get to the boot selection menu here, and then we're going to click the EFI boot as soon as we see it pop up from the selection menu. And then we're going to tab over here or arrow over to EFI boot and hit enter. Now we're in the macOS Monterey EFI environment. Tab over and click install macOS Monterey Beta. And we're going to boot right to recovery. Now, if you have a fully supported Mac, like I mentioned earlier, you can do a fresh install. And what I mean by that, you can go into Disk Utility, click Erase, and then click Install. But if you have one of the Mac models where you need to install the volume patches, we recommend doing an upgrade right now because of the auto login situation. So let's click Continue here. Now, keep in mind, you can also install, again, if you have a supported model, you can go into Disk Utility and you can install on a second partition. So for example, if you want to just test out for a little bit, so you can go into here, click on Macintosh hard drive, click partition, and you can just click this plus button and you can create a brand new slice of a partition, click apply, and install to that partition, and then you can run the patched operating system. And when you're done, if it's not working out well for you, all you need to do is click here and click the minus button, it'll remove it, and then your macOS Big Sur earlier OS will still be here. But for this situation, we're just going to perform an upgrade. So we're going to exit out of Disk Utility, And then we're going to click Install macOS 12. Continue. Agree. And then we can click on Macintosh hard drive and then continue. And there we go. It's going to copy the files to the internal drive, reboot to the installer, upgrade macOS Big Sur to macOS Monterey, and we'll be at the desktop in no time. We'll see you in a minute. We made it to macOS Monterey on an unsupported early 2013 MacBook Pro. Now, we're not done yet. We've got a couple things left to do. If we have an HD4000 Intel graphics chip, we have to apply the volume patch in the OpenCore application. Then if we want to boot without the USB hard drive plugged in, then we will install the EFI patch to the internal hard drive so we can unplug and boot right off the internal hard drive every single time. Then we can turn off automatic login again if we have the HD4000 that we just did for that workaround. So let's get started by opening up applications. And then we want to go to OpenCore and open it up. Okay, so now we have to install the post-install volume patch to the drive. So we'll click on number 3 and enter. Okay, all we need to do is click number 1, hit enter. And it's saying that the following patches will be applied. Add legacy Intel Ivy Bridge graphics patch. Hit Y for yes. And it's downloading the files needed. It's going to unzip the download. And then it's saying that the binaries were downloaded to the private var folder's location. Click enter to continue. We need to enter in our administrator password into the terminal and then hit enter. And then it's going to patch and then hit enter to rebuild the cache. Now we need to take a quick snapshot, hit enter. And now we can reboot the machine for the patches to take effect. We can hit enter to continue. We're back at the main screen. We can also patch the internal EFI so we can unplug the USB installer and boot directly off the drive now. So what we want to do is we want to change one setting though. We want to click number 5 to change the patcher settings. Now if you want that show boot picker to always show up, then leave it to true. If you want it to boot up as a Mac normally would for a supported Mac, then we're going to change number 4. Click number 4 and we want to not show the boot picker, so we'll click N for no, and then we can now click Q to quit, and then we're going to build those settings to OpenCore by clicking number 1 and enter, and then enter to go back. And now we're going to install those to the internal hard drive. Now number 2 and hit enter. And now instead of installing to the USB drive, we're going to click 0 to install to the internal Apple SSD, hit 0. And then number 1 to the EFI partition. And then we need to enter in our administrator password. And then that's it. Hit enter to continue. Now Q to quit. Now we have the legacy drivers for the graphics installed, and we have the EFI now plugged into, or the EFI installed on the internal drive, so we can now eject our USB installer. Okay, all we need to do is reboot, Apple to restart. Now the first time we do this after we install the EFI to the hard drive is we have to hold down Option after we've disconnected the USB drive to set the default hard drive for use for all time. So we'll hold down Option, wait for the chime. Now you'll see EFI boot. You can hold down Control, it'll turn to a circle, and you can hit enter. Now OpenCore Legacy Patcher will boot macOS Monterey by default every single time we turn on or restart our Mac. And we're back to the desktop. Now since we have the HD4000, we can go back into System Preferences and then go into Users and Groups and turn off automatic login. Set it to off. And then we're done. We can do a reboot to verify initial login works. Okay, we're back at the login window. Let's log in here. Okay, we're back. A couple final quick things here. Now that we're back in the operating system, okay, a couple quick things. OpenCore Legacy Patcher does support over-the-air updates. So if you go into System Preferences, click on Software Update, you will be enrolled in the developer beta automatically since you downloaded and installed, and you will see the update in here. Now, if you have a fully supported Mac, you can just click here. It'll download the entire update and should reboot, and you shouldn't need to do anything after. But if you have a patched machine where you have to patch the legacy graphics drivers like we just did on this machine, I would recommend turning on automatic login first, then updating, and then once you get back in, you got to run OpenCore again to be able to apply those patches, and you'll be good to go each time you update. Now, if you wanted to update OpenCore Legacy Patcher, all you need to do is download the new app and replace it with this one, and you're on the latest version. That's it. So I hope you guys got to macOS Monterey. I hope this video brought value to you. If it did, give it a thumbs up and thank the OpenCore Legacy Patcher developers. They did a fantastic job on this. If you need any support and you find an issue, make sure you go to Discord or file an issue on the GitHub, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks a lot.